Okay, that's fine.
Mark Allison says he cannot log in on his
All the townships in their first meeting or so, it's just, everybody getting into the flow. It takes a little time.
Did you guys hear about Danny Manaka from Hofstadts?
Hey guys, we're live here on Jason just texted me that we are live, so Mark Allison still hasn't made it online here. Mike Babushi, do you want to, since you're vice president, want to start this meeting?
Yeah, I guess we can get started. The first thing we do is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America,
And to the republic
to the republic for which it stands,
One nation,
under God,
indivisible,
liberty and justice.
for all. Okay, we want to have a moment of silence. Okay, Linda, do you want to run through the roll call, please?
Yes, Mark Allison, Michael Babushi,
Here.
Gus Lewis,
Here.
Greg Magnus,
Here.
Nick.
Yeah.
Dave, is there anything you wanted to say about, I guess next is the reorganization of the Planning Commission. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so we'll just go back to both Greg Magnus. Greg is reappointed to a 4-year term by council. Greg's term expires at the end of 2024. Dave Seitz was appointed to a 4-year term. He was coming off of a 1-year term, and Dave's new term expires also at the end of 2024. Then, Mike, the next thing is the reorganization of the Planning Commission. So this is the first meeting of the year. Typically at this time, the Planning Commission would elect its officers, the president, vice president, and secretary.
Okay, how do we usually go about it? Do we take nominations for these slots, or how's that usually done?
Yeah, usually you take nominations and then you would vote. I mean, pretty informal here.
Okay. Is Mark on yet?
Okay. I think he may be.
Oh, there he
Mark
is.
Hey, you
Alice,
just
is that
gotta-
you?
Mark, your microphone's muted.
Okay, Mark. Mark, we were in through points A, B, and C of the agenda, and we're down to the reorganization of the Planning Commission.
Okay.
And we were just, I guess, discussing how we're going to, reorganize, if we will. I don't know if you wanted to take nominations, or we just discuss it, or how you generally do that.
Typically, we take a nomination. So, starting with the chairperson, does anybody have any nominations?
Nominate
Or
Mark.
Mark again.
Do
Yeah,
I
I'll
have a
second
sec?
that.
I second it.
I have a
Correct.
nomination. I have a nomination and a second. All in favor, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, I will be the chair. Vice chair, any nominations?
Nominate
Nominate
Mike.
Mike.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a nomination and a second. All in favor of having Mike as our vice chair, please respond by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Nope. What do we have? Secretary, right? Nathan, you're secretary?
I'll nominate Nathan.
All right, do I have a second?
I second.
I have a nomination and a second. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? No. Motion carries.
Mark, if I could intervene here just for a second, because I've been
Yes.
through so many of these type of virtual meetings.
Just ask if there's if there's opposition, and quit asking for ayes.
Yes, well, that's one thing. But second of all, when you're making a second any motion, identify identify yourself by name first. This is Don Housley. I'm making a motion for, okay,
Okay.
or I'm seconding the motion. It just helps a lot with this, with the record keeping.
I understand. It helps Linda out. Okay.
May I please ask who made the motion for the secretary and the second?
I seconded Gus Lewis.
Greg Magnus made the first notion for Nathan as secretary.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review those? I'm opening them now as we sit here. Those of you who
Where are
have,
they? Are they in the file section of the Teams?
I actually received them in my personal email.
This is Sam Prokopic. I just uploaded those into the Teams, so they are there now for your viewing.
Mark, can we wait until next month to approve those minutes?
I was gonna ask if we could do that. Yes,
Yes.
we can. Okay. We're gonna table that one. Okay. Old business, St. John's parking lot expansion, SP-03-20. David, you wanna take us into that one?
Yeah, if you remember, this was presented to the Planning Commission back in October or November. We were waiting for additional information to be submitted. We did receive that information. I know we have with us tonight 2 representatives from St. John's. We have David Hall, who's with St. John's, and Tyson Miller is representing them. He's the engineer for this project. Tyson, do you want to at least talk about the new information that you've submitted? And then we'll hear from Don Housley about his review of that information.
Sure. I can bring up the letter if you want to go through specific items, but some of the items that were requested in the letter included increasing the drive aisle widths for the new parking area, performing infiltration testing, and updating some of the particulars for the stormwater management area in accordance with the ordinance requirements, providing some traffic analyses and some information related to the driveway locations. Give me a moment. I will bring up the letter and go through some of the other items. Some, typical items like utility will serves. Some of the items that were in the letter ended up falling away. There is, if you recall in the drawings, a proposed garage that's kind of really shown for conceptual purposes. So we don't have any architectural drawings or things of that nature, or renderings or elevations of that structure that would be built at a future date, and would have to go through the building permit process. So, for instance, items related to some of the utilities for that building ended up falling away. Give me 1 second. 1 second here. And let's see what else. Lighting plan information, truck turning templates, those were both provided. Let's see here. Some Plumboro standard details were added. Some parking and standard zoning information has been added. Some standard notes about wetlands and gas wells have been added. Legends updated. Monumentation notes added. So a lot of it was fairly straightforward, but due to the kind of the volume and some of the items that were on there, that was why it was essentially tabled at the prior meeting. But as Dave indicated, we've addressed the vast majority of those. I think there might be 1 or 2 items that Dawn and Maria still have for us to iron out. But as I said, by and large, notwithstanding some of the third-party approvals we need, which include the NPDS permit and the Allegheny County HOP for Unity Trestle Road. Otherwise, I believe we have, as I said, addressed most, if not all, of the outstanding comments.
David, do you have any comments before we pass it on to Dawn?
Who, me from St. John's?
Yeah.
No, Dave Bosley, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Sam is trying to show the side plan here. So Sam, if you want to show, to move down to the proposed site plan.
It seems to be loading, taking a quite long time for that. Let me retry to show that for you guys.
Before we get to, I guess, back to Don Housley, Tyson, I do have a question. As part of this, you're still seeking a modification as far as the sidewalk is concerned up on Unity Center Road?
Yes, that's correct.
And if you can just go over that with the planning commission and just refresh their memories about what that modification is.
Sure. So for those of you that are familiar with the site, and for those of you that aren't, there is a pretty steep drop off as it comes from Unity Trestle into the site. We are obviously proposing a new driveway connection, so we're bringing in some fill to accommodate that. And we're also, as part of a separate application, St. John's is installing a new sign. But because there's a guide rail there, and just because of those topography issues, we're requesting that modification for those sidewalks, particularly since there aren't any other sidewalks in the immediate vicinity.
And Mark, that was my only question before Don gets on to talk about his re-review.
Okay, thank you, David.
Okay, Mark, I have completed an update to the letter, the compliance review letter. It is dated today. We finalized a few things on this. And I will call out some specific items. I don't think it's necessary to go through all 15 pages. On page 6, under Saldo, section 411B, an NPDES permit is required. That is a third-party issue. It is a standard condition of approval. Next item would occur on page 8 of 15. Saldo, section 417A. Talks about the water line approval through the PBMA. That is a third-party condition of approval also. There will be the necessity for a county HOP permit onto Unity Center Road under Saldo subsection 422. Again, third-party item, condition of approval is standard in that type of an issue. On page 10 of 15, subsection 718, sub B, sub 1 of the Saldo, survey markers are required to be set on all lot corners, the perimeter lot corners. There is a modification requested of that to allow the current markers that are in place. There's I'm just going to use the word ton of corners on this property. There, in my opinion, as a professional land surveyor, there are sufficient markers there to satisfy the intent of the ordinance of leaving control behind. So I would support that modification as a second modification, along with the sidewalk that was just discussed. Under the stormwater ordinance 501.c sub 5, the Allegheny County Conservation District for Erosion Sedimentation Control Plan, that occurs along with the NPDES permitting. However, that is also a third party type of a conditional approval, so that would be a standard condition. And then as-built drawings are required at the end of the project. That'll be part of the developer's agreement that David will prepare and the church will sign off on. And also an O&M agreement will be required to be filed in the Allegheny County Department of Real Estate prior to the issuance of any grading permits for the property. They've agreed to that. That is also a third-party type of condition of approval. So with that, I believe that the site is ready for a recommendation from us as in the positive that it should be approved to move on.
Thank you, Don. Don, what's the date of that letter?
This one is updated last January 14th, 2021.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions from the commission? Any thoughts on the sidewalks, and anybody have any issues? I have one question. I noticed something about the sight lines didn't come into play because of the speed limit on Miller's Lane. Did I read that correctly?
Not that they don't come into play, it's just it dictates what the size of that, or what the geometry of that site triangle is. So those are depicted on the landscape drawing, I know.
I've been
Yeah,
struggling.
Tyson, I'm gonna have Sam bring up that drawing because I think we This is one of the issues we had last time.
Okay.
So Sam, if you can bring up the landscape drawing from the new set, because it does show. Tyson, maybe you know exactly which drawing that is here.
Yeah, you know what page, Tyson?
800 or 900, so it should be towards the end, I would think.
C801.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually where I saw it.
So one up one. There you go.
All right, let me know if you want me to zoom in or anything of that sort.
Yeah, Sam, if you can zoom in right at the Miller's Lane parking lot there.
Well, maybe it should show up. That might be a drafting error.
Is that good, or can you guys all see that?
Yeah.
That's an
Okay.
older version.
I see. I'm sorry. Yeah, we did have a triangle there at one point, and then my when my engineer was researching it in the PennDOT publication, it had that text, so he added that text to the plan. But I mean, if that's still a concern, we can certainly show a triangle for a site triangle for a 25-mile-an-hour road or something of that nature, or sometimes we do profiles along those site triangles. So, happy to provide more information there if that's not clear.
Yeah, I mean, I think to the right as you pull out of there, that it's actually improved because you moved up from the bend, but it kind of looks like it made it worse as you look to your left to pull out of there. So I was just curious. I mean, have you studied that based on that triangle, or?
Mark, this is Don Housley. I can tell you that I wrote these down because they were on the most recent revised set that I have, and I made it in my notes here. To the left, I have 265 feet, and to the right, I have 236 feet. So to the left is actually longer than it is to the right.
Okay, I hadn't had the chance to drive by there, to be honest with you, but it just intuitively just didn't seem like there was that much with the drop off. It seemed like a rising blind bend. Okay.
Yeah, and one of the things we did to address that, because I know that was brought up prior, as we did try to trim back the grades a little bit at that corner, so just between the edge of that pond and the edge of pavement. I believe we did, as I said, try to remove some material there to increase that visibility.
Okay, thank you.
You know, guys, I'm trying to read this thing. This note says there's a 15-mile-an-hour design speed on Miller's Lane. Is that what that says?
Yes.
Why is there a 15-mile-an-hour design speed on that roadway? I mean, it should be at a minimum of 25. I mean, I'm looking at street view of it. There's a 15-mile-an-hour school zone, but that's not the design speed or the speed limit in Miller's Lane.
That may be an oversight. I'll have to check that, so we can look into that and provide. But as Don indicated, I do believe we have the required distance for the 25, so we just need to document that as such.
Okay, now your site distance that you measured to the left, how did you do that? I mean, it's the profile of the roadway that I think blocks the view, not the horizontal alignment. So, I mean, you'd have to lay that on top of a profile of Miller's Lane.
Yeah, and we've done that before, and I know we did look at this, so we can provide that drawing.
Okay, all right.
Anybody have any other questions or comments?
I may have misspoken. Those distances, I'm sorry, were on Unity Road, not.
Yeah, I do believe we looked at this though, so we'll be able to provide that drawing for staff's review.
Don, just out of curiosity, I mean, if there are issues with that, how is that handled, with warning signs, or does the grade have to be cut more to meet that site distance that's required by PennDOT?
It could be any of those. And I
Okay.
think Mike may be able to have more comment on this than I, but usually it's signage and physical corrections when possible.
And I guess relative to the warning signs, quite often there are school zones with warning signs at the times people will be entering and exiting. Is there anything in our ordinance that requires that or would mandate that we need to have some kind of warning or, change the speed to that 15 miles an hour for the school zone during school hours?
I don't think specifically, other than most of our codes reference back to PennDOT standards.
Okay.
And those would require such things.
I mean, it's a private school, not a public school, but I mean, is that something that comes into play?
No, it's still a school.
Yeah.
I mean, what you would do to remedy this is, it's hard to tell looking at the street view, which I have up on a different screen here, where that roadway's coming in because, well, it's right across from the other road down there, so I guess I can see where it's at, but there's, I think you're going through like an old Infelberg building here, is where it's coming up.
Yes, there was a structure.
And what you want to do to remedy this is you want to clear that hillside of all the trees and shrubs so you can see around as much as possible, and then you have to cut that hillside back until you get a clear sight picture of the oncoming traffic, heading north on Miller's Lane. I don't know how signing that is going to increase the sight distance for people exiting that, and if you're within like a couple 100 feet of Unity Center Road there too.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, how far is that new driveway away from Unity? Is there Unity Road or Unity Center Road?
Unity Center.
Okay.
How far is the new driveway from Unity Center?
Yeah.
Give me a minute.
Mike, I wasn't thinking that was going to help the sight distance, but speed limits are always obeyed.
Yeah.
So if there's some flashing lights out there, at least to get someone's attention that someone might be crossing your path as you go up around that bend. It's helpful. That's all.
Yeah, it's a little weird because right now the current school zone signing is right at that entrance. It's a new proposed entrance, so that's probably going to have to be relocated because you're going to have a new entrance going into the school area there.
Gotcha.
The existing entrance is being closed, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So the new entrance is going to be moving up. So the sign has to move up. Now I don't know if you can handle that with just a sign or put a flashing school crossing sign there now. I don't know what Miller Lane is really. That's a township road, right?
Yes. That new driveway is about 170 feet from the intersection.
Yeah, I'm looking about 180 feet or something like that from what I just drew on this on the street view. Is the developer proposing to do anything different with the school crossing signs?
We can relocate those. We hadn't talked about it. But if we need to move them back in accordance with the MUTC guidelines, we can do that.
Yeah, I think you'd have to do that. And you're going to take a look at the site distance to the left down Miller's Road as you're exiting from the new entrance.
Yeah, we can provide a profile view
Right.
for staff review. That's
Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's a horizontal thing as so much as it is, maybe vertical.
Yeah, and that's what you said. I'm pretty sure that we cut back some of the grades there as much as we could.
Okay.
And I don't think there's really much vegetation there, but I could certainly add a note to clear whatever is there and keep
No,
that.
there's not much vegetation there now. But
Yeah.
And in the summer, I think you're going to see quite a bit. Well, maybe not. Maybe it'll be, because I'm trying to see where I can see where the trees are, but yeah, I think it's mostly brushes and shrubs, but that might be coming on. Yeah, I don't have anything additional on this.
Okay. So the sidewalks are not an issue. We'd like to see some profiles on the exit there. And then Dawn's letter dated January 14th, 2021. And the waiver for the pins as well as the waiver for not having the sidewalks are all part of the motion. Is anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept.
That was
I'll
Gus.
second. This is
I'm
Nathan.
sorry, Gus Lewis, yes.
Nathan second. Is there any opposition? And motion carries.
Thank you. We'll get those things addressed, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Item number 2 is Map Machine SP-05-20. Dave, would you introduce this for us, please?
Yep. Like you said, it's SP-05-20. The request for preliminary / final land development approval at 820 Unity Center Road, lot and block 851, N as in Nancy 49, for the construction of a 2,204 square foot addition to the existing machine shop. The property is 7.3 acres in size and is zoned SR single family residential. I know Mark Allison, you're going to be presenting this.
Yes.
For the rest of Planning Commission, Mark is the architect of record on this, and he has indicated he will not be voting on this. So Mike B., I'll turn this over to you if you want to sort of moderate this presentation with Mark. Mike Babucci.
All right, is there somebody who can call up the plan? We'll take a quick look at it again.
Yes, Sam, if you can bring up Map Machine site plan.
Okay, this is just an addition onto an existing building, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Mark's going to present there.
Yeah,
Okay.
currently they have 16,000 square feet of facility. They're adding the 2,200 to the one end. It's pretty much a level site. He has more than enough parking. I think the only other additional thing required is some trees and bushes for the site plan or for the landscape plan.
Does anybody have any questions on this? Any comments?
Don Housley, what can you go through your review of this, please?
Yes, actually, the impossible has happened here, gentlemen. We did a compliance review, and Farragut, McCarty, and Gray, Mr. Tom Swisher responded on December the 23rd, and we were unable to find any outstanding issues. They did an excellent job of addressing all of our comments. So we have nothing to say at this point.
Great.
Don, I'm assuming that everything is out of the floodplains down there, right?
Yes.
Concern here.
No. No, and I believe there's even a note on the plan on the right there. No, yeah, no, see site notes number 1 on the right lower corner is kind of in the middle of the screen now. It says site notes right there. Best of my knowledge, belief, and ability, there are no wetlands. No wetlands, gas wells. Pretty sure there was a note somewhere, I'm just not recalling exactly where, that there was, I mean, you can see above that in the text, they show you where the floodways and areas zone AE and the 1% annual flood, if you look up above with those notes. And then you can look around the drawing for those designations of floodways. So there's nothing near this building site.
Okay.
They actually
What's,
sit up on it. They sit up on a bench above the stream that's down below in the middle of the property.
Yeah, there it is on your left side. See it coming into play?
Okay, those are the limits of the floodplain then.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, Dave, what do we do with this? We approve, take a vote to approve it, or?
Yeah, the vote is, the request is for preliminary and final land development, and the motion would be to approve it with or without any conditions.
Do we have any suggested conditions at all?
I do not have any.
Okay. Any comments from the commission? All right, can we have a motion to accept this then?
I make a motion, Gus Lewis, to approve it.
The second?
Dave Sykes, I'll second it.
Okay, any opposition? All right, motion passes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to item number 3, Veltry's Italian Kitchen. Conditional use -02-20. Dave, are we going to handle this along with the site plan at the same time, or do we have to take 2 votes?
Yeah, we'll do these separately.
Okay.
And I know we have, waiting patiently online, Dan Graper is with us from Theringer, McCarty, and Gray.
Okay.
And he's going to present this. So we'll start with the conditional use. And Dan, if you want to walk the planning commission through how we arrived at this conditional use. Why are you applying for a conditional use and not just a restaurant approval?
Sure. Okay. Can you guys hear me? All right.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, as Dave mentioned, Mr. Veltry is proposing a 2,260 square foot takeout only restaurant. There's no dine-in. It's pickup only. And so that is the reason we are requesting conditional use. There's no parking requirement in the code specifically for takeout only dining. And so we've performed a parking demand analysis, and along with that, we are requesting conditional use for 19.
Dan, can you describe exactly where this is located?
Sure. The property is directly adjacent to Veltry's Wedding and Event Center. It's on Coxcomb Hill Road. I'm sure most of you know right where it is. It's a 1 acre parcel. It's zoned GC General Commercial. It's at River Road.
So if you're looking at Veltry's Event Center, to the left of that is River Road. Then to the left of River Road is the parcel that we're looking at.
Is this going to be a self-standing restaurant, or are they going to be shuttling food, supplies, equipment back and forth between Veltry's Event Center? I mean, are they preparing food right in this building?
Correct.
Or
Yeah, this would be a freestanding. This would be a freestanding separate facility. It's essentially a takeout pizza shop. I mean, they're going to have more than just pizza, of course, but it's essentially just a pizza shop.
So Dan, my understanding is that Mr. Veltry has another location in the area, and he's lost his lease on that area, and he plans to relocate that to this building, correct?
Yes, that's correct. His existing shop is down in Oakmont. As you said, his lease is up, so he's moving up the hill to here.
So as far as our ordinance, Mark Allison is concerned, we don't have a specific use for takeout, but we do allow the applicant to apply for a similar use, which they have done here. They did have, as part of this, a parking demand analysis done, which we can talk about during land development too. But as far as the conditional use, the use of this property is concerned, it is what they have done is permitted by ordinance. And I don't know if Mr. Housley has any comments about the conditional use review.
If I may, before we go to Dawn,
Yep.
is this a similar situation that we had with the drive-through coffee place down on 286? We had an amount of parking that was going to be required. It was a drive-through. I just thought we had something in our ordinance that kind of dictated what was happening there. I was just curious.
I think what the ordinance says is for a restaurant, you have to do a parking demand study.
Okay.
And I think, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, that study showed that they're required to have 9 spaces, but they are going to provide 19 spaces instead.
No, I understand. Okay.
Yeah, a standard dine-in restaurant of our size requires 31 parking spaces.
Right.
The demand analysis was 9, as you mentioned, and we're proposing 19. So we're well above the demand.
Mm-hmm.
Will people who want to frequent this place have access to the Veltry's parking lot also?
I would think so. I mean, it's right across River Road there. They don't have to cross any major roads. I think River Road only has 4 or 5 homes on it. And there's plenty of parking there, so.
Yeah.
if it
I
was
guess I'm
needed.
more concerned about we just approved, I mean, they're putting in a sports complex right across the road from this. And again, we talked about this with another pizza place where, once the events are over, there's a good opportunity for a number of people to show up at this restaurant to get their pizza before they go home. And I guess I'm just personally concerned about whether as long as there's an opportunity to provide parking for the overflow that they might get from this single event. As long as they have, I'm fine with that. As long as they have access to the Veltry's Event Center parking to handle the overflow.
Yeah, they would. It's the same entity that owns both, so.
Okay, Dawn, did you have any comments?
Yeah, on the conditional use, we had a couple of things we wanted to talk about. The applicant has indicated under the supplemental regulations performance standards, and that's where we talk about noise, vibrations, glare, fire hazards, radioactivity, odors, and air pollutions, that there won't be any. His words are in their opinion, there are no issues with this land development or conditional use, which I'm fine with. I just wanted to point that out.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a question related to subsection 603 of the zoning ordinance, parking lot layout and design standards, where we talk about the Plum Borough standard details. Number 0008 should be included in the site construction details. This won't be covered in the land development because it relates to parking. They're indicating that, I'll just read it to you. All proposed improvements shall be private. That being the case, the applicant is proposing to use the details included in the site plan package as submitted. It's our opinion that we do not agree with the opinion stated in the response. At a minimum, a modification for each of those items must be requested and approved, recommended by you and voted on by council. The modifications has to be listed on the cover sheet of the plan and the format provided within the review letter. And so therefore that item remains outstanding. Also, we've already talked about the parking. That was where the restaurant dine-in and restaurants neighborhood require 1 per 75 with a minimum of 31 parking spaces, but they did do the analyses and they're providing, or their indications are it's only 9 spaces and they are way over parked for that. So that we have issue resolved. So that's it on the conditional use. We'll have more on the land development portion of it, but that's it on the zoning portion, which is generally the conditional use issues.
So Mark, I would have a question for Dan Graper. Dan,
Yes.
can you chime in, instead of trying to request modifications on these parking issues, what is the issue with following the borough specification on the parking layout?
One, we can do that. That's no problem.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Anybody from the commission have any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion for the conditional use -02-20.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
That was Gus.
Yeah, Gus knows.
Do I have a second?
Greg Magnus,
Dave
make a
Sykes, I'll
second.
second it.
We got 2 seconds there. That's good. Is there any opposition? And motion carries. And we'll move on to item number 4, which is site plan -06-20. David Sabozley?
Yeah, so just one last comment coming off of the conditional use there. Council will hold a conditional use hearing for that item on Monday, February the 1st at 6:45. And that's when that will pick up again. Veltree's Italian Kitchen. Now we're here to look at the land development aspect of this, not the use aspect of it. And I'll just turn it over to Dan Graper. Dan, if you just want to walk through your site plan that we have up here. If you want us to change the page, just let us know. Sam, if you want to go back to the first page so we can see the elevation that they're proposing. But yeah, this time I have no questions or comments. Mark, I'll just, all right with you, turn it over to Mr. Graper.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. As you can see on your screen there, there's a perspective of the building. It's metal roof and metal siding. There's some masonry along the lower parts of the wall. You can see the door locations and plenty of windows, and there's some nice detail there with the accent work, with the exposed trusses, and then that canopy in the front.
Mhm.
Let's move to the site plan if you don't mind. So the parking lot is in the front of the building there. It's 19 parking spaces proposed, as we just talked about. Concrete sidewalks most of the way around the building there. We have a flush entry on that right-hand side, and that is off of a loading and service space. There's one ADA parking space. It's off to the left there. And then there is a drainage swale across the back of the building that drains to the right to a stormwater BMP. We're compliant with all the building setbacks, the lot size, the frontage, maximum coverage, building height, all of that stuff. Let's move to the next slide, if you don't mind. So here's the landscape plan. We're proposing 8 trees and 31 shrubs, along with some mulch, lawn, and river rock areas. Some of the critical steps for the project timeline are we've submitted to the Allegheny Conservation District for ENS approval. We're under an acre, so it's not an NPDES, it's a non-permitted ENS. We've submitted to PennDOT for the utility HOPs that we'll need for tying in at the road. That's for water and gas. We we received initial comments from Mital, your reviewing engineer, on December 21st. And we responded. I think we've addressed the vast majority of them on January 4th is when we resubmitted. That was pretty much all I had. If there are any questions, I can answer them.
Are you proposing any type of roadside signing?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the signage would be a separate approval from this. Correct?
Yeah, usually we have a separate permit for that, but Mike, are you asking if the sign is gonna be somewhere up, impeding the sight line coming out of River Road?
Well, I'm concerned about that, and I think lately along this road, we've had some signs, and I think Veltri is one of them, that are like rather glaring signs. I mean, wasn't there complaints that we were getting from that before, or am I imagining something?
I don't think we had any complaints about that.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he has in what he has planned for the signage, but I'll certainly ask him about it. There is a sign on the building, I can tell you that. Just a small one over the front door.
Dan, can you talk to the planning commission about the inside of the building? Is there going to be a sprinkler system inside the building?
That I do not know. I guess that would depend on Allegheny County. The architect is EOS Studios, which they are not with us tonight, but I can get you that answer. I do not know.
Yeah, we had sent the site plan out to the fire department that responds in this area. And there are two questions. Were one about the sprinkler system, which will be driven by code. And then the second question was the location of the nearest fire hydrant. Just for the planning commission's sake, I don't know, Samus can pull that up. I'm pretty sure that the closest hydrant is just across Coxcomb Hill Road, right where River Road exits out. So it's right across the roadway there.
Yeah. I can show you on our GIS if you'd prefer. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor as well, but it is roughly right around where my cursor is, I believe, right now.
That's correct, Sam. It is.
Dan, inside the building, is this going to be like a larger storage area, possibly even for the event center, that they have a garage door on it?
Certainly not that I am aware of. I don't think I have seen an actual floor plan yet.
I'm just a little curious because I mean, this is quite large for just a pizza takeout place, and then have that door, and then to be willing to spend the money for additional parking. I just wonder if there's a future use in mind.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure.
And the over concern with the future use is the fact that they're going to do a holding tank. I wasn't able to make contact with the Allegheny County Plumbing Department to just understand what's involved with the holding tank for the sanitary system.
Okay, yeah, I know we have done a few holding tanks recently, but I've talked to Tony about this, and he's well aware of the fact that in his mind and everyone's mind, that's a temporary solution. He absolutely plans on tying into the sewers at some point.
I mean, I assume he has it at the event center.
He does not have sewage at the event center.
Oh, he does not?
Not public sewer, no.
Okay. That's interesting.
Dave, what do they currently have at the event center? Is it a leach bed or a sand mound there?
It's a holding tank, I'm pretty sure.
Like just a tank or no leach bed or sand mound there?
No, the holding tank gets pumped out periodically.
I know as Mr. Grayberg indicated, that this may be a temporary solution. I think as this project was developing, the owner had talked about wanting to tie public sewer into both this proposed building as well as his existing building. Obviously, they're not to that point right now. And I think in KU's review, we'll talk about, what we need to see as far as this site's concerned in order to move ahead with any sort of approval.
Sure. I mean, I'm just curious about it, but this all, I believe, falls under the jurisdiction of the health department, plumbing division. Am I correct on that, David?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the county plumbing division handles all these issues, but at the same time, the Plumboro Municipal Authority would also be involved.
Okay, that's why I wasn't sure what their involvement might be.
Yes,
Okay.
so I'll sort of jump the gun here, and then I know in Dawn's review he talks about it, but at a minimum, there would have to be some sort of development agreement with the municipal authority, even for a holding tank. That development agreement would specify the size of the tank, how the tank is maintained, all those issues. So just like we do on other commercial developments, even in housing plans, we require that the applicant get a development agreement with the authority. And I did correspond with the authority over the last month or so about this issue. And they have entered into discussions with the applicant. I don't know if there's been any resolution to that, but I think we just leave, my suggestion that in the end, in order for this to move forward, they'd have to have an approval from the county as well as the Plumboro Municipal Authority.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Owsley, you have any comments?
I do, sir. Just a few. Let me get through here now. Okay. Let's see. Under subsection, we're into the Saldo at this point, subsection 406D. We talk about PennDOT permits. The applicant has indicated that he's added the highway occupancy note to the drawing, and they're making applications for utility permits for gas and water lateral connections. And those will be supplied to Plumboro once they're received. So that's fine. That's a standard third-party type of condition for you to recommend approval. We've already talked about standard details. Mr. Draper agreed to make the changes where applicable. Sewage facilities planning module. They are in the process of making application to the County Health Department on an on-lot sewage system permit holding tank. The approval will be provided to the borough once we receive it. So we just indicate that item will remain outstanding and is a condition to any approvals that you may recommend to council. Under section 422, proof of submission to other agencies, there's actually 3 here. Although the applicant is correct, it's not a permitted erosion sedimentation control site due to the size of it. So the NPDES permit doesn't come into play. Plumboro has a working agreement with the Conservation District, so it still has to be submitted to them. So once they receive that letter, they'll forward that on. Again, the PennDOT note, and then finally the Allegheny County Health Department for the holding tank on site. Those are all standard conditions, third party of approval. Then there's subsection 423.A sub 3, storm sewer profiles were not provided. The proposed storm sewer conveyances make a connection into a private system. Are storm sewer profiles required? The response per the ordinance is yes, and we will need an agreement or an easement between the two parties at some point prior to the signing of the developer's agreement, because in the event that the owner of the other system, the land or the system itself, is sold off, we need protections from the borough that the storm system would be maintained going into the future. So something will be needed on that, but that's a standard type of again, they're waiting for your recommendations and Plum's approval to before entering into those agreements, which makes sense. Notifications of intent to bond under subsection 426A, they will be required to provide securities for the improvements to the property that are required under the zoning code. So paving, lighting, storm systems, things such as that they have to install per our ordinances will be required, but that'll be taken care of by David at the time of the developers agreement. The survey monuments and survey markers, they're saying that they do have set iron pins and concrete monuments were discovered adjacent to the subject property. They've been added to the existing conditions plan. And I agree with the consultant here, Dan, that when we read subsection 718, it appears as though no additional iron pins or monuments would be required for a land development application. But David, I'm going to discuss this one with you offline, and we'll come up with a resolution prior to the council meeting. But Dan, just for your knowledge, if we can't come to an agreement, we'll take a look at what you said, and I would probably support a modification on that for what you do have in place, just so you know. But I do read the ordinance, and I see the difficulty under subsection 718, the way it's worded. It does not appear that they would be required, but as you heard on prior applications, land developments, we have been requiring them. So, but we'll get to the bottom of that prior to the council meeting. So Planning Commission, I would just recommend for tonight, you just go ahead and forward this on. The other, yeah, it's just kind of a repetition about the county erosion control and the security. So, yeah, Mr. Graper's done a nice job of updating the drawings and pretty well addressing everything. So I would recommend this for approval to Borough Council, subject to these modifications and things.
And that's your letter dated January 18th?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you, Don.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions from the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we accept. Teslos.
And that's to accept based on the items still outstanding for KU's letter dated January 18th, 2021, excuse me.
That is correct.
Do I have a second?
This is Mike. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any opposition for this project to move forward? And motion carries. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Moving on to item number 5, Pearson Run Road, Place of Worship. Site plan 07-12. David, would you introduce that for us, please?
Yeah, it's a request for preliminary / final land development for the construction of a 3,300 square foot addition to an existing place of worship. This is on Pearson Run Road. The property is 4.16 acres in size and is zoned single family. At this time, we did receive a letter dated January the 11th from the applicant requesting this be tabled until the February meeting. Evidently, the size, the location of the addition has changed since we had received our initial set of plans, and they would like more time to modify those drawings and get things right for us.
Sounds good. Do you have a motion to table this project? Site plan 07-12.
Make a motion.
Yeah,
Table it. Teslos.
Do I have a
Greg
second?
Magnus will second.
Any opposition to tabling this project? Motion carries. New business, the Palumbo Building, site plan 08-12. This is a request, I guess, for preliminary and final land development for next month's meeting. David, I guess everything has been submitted?
Yeah, this is for the renovation. This is actually an exciting project. It's almost a redevelopment of a property. I don't know if it's redevelopment because I can't say it was ever developed to start with, but down in the dip of Coxcomb Hill, if you come down from Oakmont Heights in the bottom there, on the right-hand side, there's an old building that's been sitting there, I think most recently used for a lawnmower repair.
Okay.
And the Palombos have purchased the building, and they're going to develop or redevelop the site. We've received their drawings, and really the only thing before Planning Commission tonight is to accept that application as complete.
Do a motion to do so.
I make a motion. Gus
Greg
Lewis.
Magnus will make that motion.
I
Greg
second
made the
Gus
motion
Lewis.
and Gus seconded it. Is there any opposition? Motion carries. I had one other item that's just more of a question for you, David, and I wanted to throw it out to the Planning Commission. You and I had talked at one point, you were going to compile some suggestions for council to consider revisions to our zoning code.
Sure, if you want to do that, whether you do it tonight or if you want to give the rest of the Planning Commission members a chance to look at that.
I wanted to just throw it out there for them, but I didn't know what the timing of that was for you because I'd like to provide you with some information.
Yeah, I would say if any Planning Commission member has any suggestions at any time, just forward it to me. And probably the best thing is to get it up on the Planning Commission agenda for discussion about exactly what you're looking for, and then we'd take that to council.
Okay, I will do that. Our next meeting, February 22nd, 2021.
So note that is the fourth Monday.
Yes.
That's one of the odd meeting dates of our 2021 calendar.
Not a problem.
The only other thing I would say, Mark, is beyond the Palumbo building, we will have another item up on our agenda next month. It's the review of an agricultural security area, something that, typically the Planning Commission has never done in Plumboro. But I'm just saying, look at your iPad, log in, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ahead, start looking at that information. There's a lot of information to digest. There's a handbook that you can review. And I would ask you if you have any questions to call me prior to the Planning Commission meeting. I'd be happy to talk to you. But it's something you're not going to understand in a day or two. It's going to take a little bit of reading to understand exactly what you're reviewing.
Okay. We'll do so. Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, Gus Lewis, we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Dave Sites, I'll second it.
Any opposition to go enjoy your evening? Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Sorry,
Happy New Year, everyone.
Sorry I had trouble getting logged in.